Hi, I'm Dave Turner. I live out here on High Pass Road, which parallels Owens Creek that flows into Bear Creek that flows into the Long Tom River. So I live in the Long Tom Watershed on 17 acres of land, and Owens Creek runs through our property, and it just creates this beautiful spot for us to live. We've been out here since about 2003 as we moved back to Eugene after being here in the 70s and really wanted to live out in the rural areas and found this spot. And we didn't quite know how beautiful it was when we looked at it on a rainy day around Christmas time. But once we got in here, we saw this was just a magical spot with its environment here. So about 2005, while we were living out here, our creek had a big bunch of still water, muddy water on it. And I started asking around the community, say, well, how can I get some advice about what to do with this very muddy creek? And one person told me for sure, go talk to the Long Tom Watershed Council. So I called up the Long Tom Watershed Council, and within a month, they came out here and examined what the situation was and started giving some advice about what to do. So after several months of planning that the Watershed Council did to help us look at some solutions here, they came up with a plan where they would have some grant money assigned to this project, and we would contribute our volunteer time. And they came out here with huge backhoes, lifted up a steel dam that had blocked up the creek and made these very muddy ponds. And during that time, they seined the creek for the fish. So they did a fish habitat index about what fish live out here. They did all the temperatures of the water. And within about 2 days, we had a totally different flowing creek here. And within a couple of months after that, especially after winter time, the winter flow moved all of that sediment out, and all of a sudden we could see the bare rock on the bottom of the creek, and the creek started becoming clear. We could see the bottom of it, and it just became wondrous, So the creek turned into a rapidly moving, smooth flowing creek. The old ponds turned into a wetlands where there's still water held during the winter time. So there's new kinds of insects and dragonflies and all kinds of insects out there. We wish there were a few more frogs, but they'll come back in here pretty soon. So what I got to witness with the Watershed's help was this total adaptation of a landscape out here that looked very much controlled and manufactured to now one that looks very natural. And the landscape is now doing just what nature is telling it to do. So after I got to meet a lot of the Watershed Council people during this project, I started trying to pay more attention to what they did in other places. I know I went on a couple of tours just as a volunteer, as a landowner, to see what other projects were done at other places in the watershed. Got to know the staff much better, and just really kind of felt like this was a group that had just the right cause, and they had the kind of attitude about doing the right thing at the right time. They didn't rush into things. They kind of calmly researched things of what they were going to do. They provided the science and the creativity to it, and then they got them done. And so I said, kind of in a way, I'd like to pick this group out as a group of all those that I could be involved with to contribute back to them, contribute back to all those people that are being good stewards of the landscape out here. It has gotten me very interested in the history of how the Long Tom River has flowed through various different places here, and old oxbows have been closed down and straightened channels have been set up. So this river has really been a changing organism. And, is that something we want to encourage it to keep changing? There are a lot of really good, thoughtful ideas to try to figure out. How do you really make this river be totally healthy and to benefit all the different kinds of people who live out here? And it's the Watershed Council who are thinking about all those hard questions and coming up with good solutions. One of the other great things the Watershed Council does, they make decisions among the groups in the community. They don't try to run anything through. They get there and spend a lot of time talking with the people who will be affected by these changes. So, I just feel really fortunate that I am among all these other people who live on the Long Tom River and its many creeks and tributaries, because I think this little part of Oregon is really so well cared for that I feel like I'm a proud resident and a proud landowner who's doing just a little part to take care of all this great land here.